what do you think the biggest issue is that is facing Senate District 15?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, the Turnpike. It cuts through the heart of all of the communities that Senate District 15 touches. There's the east-west expansion, which is slowly starting to get a little more contentious, but then the north-south is the biggest one. It threatens to take out 5% of the population of Noble. My mom's house is one of those houses in line for the Turnpike. And when I'm talking with people, even as the Democrat, I have a lot of Republican support because, what's stronger than party lines is property lines. And that's something that, we're all facing together personally. So.
So the follow-up question to that is obviously the Turnpike is a huge talker in the district. If
Sure.
you could just repeat again, where do you stand on that issue and what should be done with OTA?
So what should be done with OTA is something that would need to be discussed with the legislature. We would need to come to terms with what we think the best plan is moving forward. If there are some bad debts, et cetera, that need to be, talked about, then that's something that we discuss. So as far as what to do with the OTA, I think that's for a future date. As far as this turnpike expansion, absolutely should not happen. Anti-turnpike.
You both talk about the importance of education. What do you think can be done to improve Oklahoma's education system?
So I think the biggest problem that we saw, in 2010, when the House and Senate was more balanced, more of a 50-50, we were 17th in the nation in education. And then we started leaning hard into partisan politics. Any person on the ballot who had an R next to their name in the state of Oklahoma pretty much guaranteed you a seat. So you stopped looking at the candidate and just, voted for a party. And in doing so, we've really just dismantled our education system in Oklahoma. We've elected people that don't care about it, they don't value it. And currently, right now, we're siphoning taxpayer money to the wealthiest Oklahomans so they can send their kids to private school, right? 65% of the people who receive these tax credits have a household income of over 150,000 or greater. And so by constantly cutting, in the last 20 years, the state of Oklahoma has had 9 budget revenue failures. And the first thing that gets cut every single time is education. We have to start putting money into our schools and investing in our children. So, something that we've seen in the state of Oklahoma happen this year was we moved to managed Medicaid. And that has been really slow rolling. It's been difficult with the plans, it's been difficult with getting people paid and all of those processes. And something that I think people really need to understand is that a majority of our patients in Oklahoma live outside of metros. So all of the members that we serve clinics that are federally qualifying health centers. So they are incredibly rural, uninsured, even undocumented status people. They see everybody, and there's a lot of heart issues, diabetes, HIV, alcoholism, depression, mental health issues, suicide. A lot of those things happen in the rural area. And so when people think about healthcare, they think OU Meds and all these major hospitals and how we can improve people going to those hospitals. But so much of the population that is not being served and underserved or in the rural communities. So I think we really need to invest in those communities and in those health centers to expand even further than what we're currently doing.
Should voters be concerned that Lisa is married to the incumbent for the seat? And how do you think she will distinguish herself from her husband if she's elected? And is that something that you are running on?
If you're asking us the same questions, I'm curious what her equivalent would be. So it's interesting. I was actually interviewed by an adorable OU Daily student a couple weeks ago, and he was asking me, how does it feel to be two women running against each other? And I said, well, as a woman, you want to beat a man, right? And as a council member, I've already done that twice. So, but no one's thinking about it. It's Lisa and I, two women vying for a state Senate seat. It's, Foreman versus Rob's wife, Standarder's wife. That's how people see her, is just an extension of him. I have knocked so many doors and been in front of so many groups of people, and the most rural of people in the communities, they have a lot of concerns. They were not supportive of her husband. They do not agree with any of the policies and the things that he did. They feel that he was very divisive to the county Republican Party here in Cleveland County. And so they believe that she will just be an extension of that. So that's probably something that's going to hurt her. be very detrimental to her. She lost every rural precinct in Noble and Norman, I think, except for one. And she barely carried Norman. She beat her opponent in the primary by 51 votes, I think. And he carried the rural community. And so the rural community is actually where I grew up and where I came from. And so, yeah, it's something that kind of lingers over her. And I wouldn't say it was very favorable for her. But I do think it is worth noting that she was one woman versus five men, and she did win. And it's unfortunate that nobody can at least point that out, you know.
Well, it is important to point out, so we appreciate you bringing attention to that.
Mhm.
What do you think your constituents want? A liberal or a conservative, and why?
I don't think they want either, quite honestly. A lot of them are seeing their own Republican Party as very fractured. I was a Republican up until 2017 myself. It was Mary Fallon, and you can quote me 100 times on that. It was Mary Fallon. Why I switched parties. I think they're tired of the inflamed rhetoric because they're starting to see in their own lives how their children are having things denied them or opportunities denied them because of what their party is actually doing. And I think they want to go back to the original small government, all of this stuff, et cetera. That's what they want. And they do not want a liberal. Maybe some people in Norman, because we are sort of the blue dot, right? Even in Oklahoma, Oklahoma liberals are still pretty moderate and conservative in their own right. And I think they just want someone with common sense. And fortunately, I spent 4 years on Norman City Council, which we've entertained you all for 4 years when I was on there. I have receipts and I made both sides very mad. I refunded the police, I gave them the Bearcat, but then I also, instituted a mask mandate, right? I think they want someone with common sense who's not going to toe a party line and actually work for the constituents. And so I'm very lucky that I can say the last 4 years, I've not towed any line. This is what I've done. This is my track record. And so far, that's working. And that's what they want. They want common sense. And I've had so many people say, you're the first Democrat I'll vote for. And I put a sample ballot on social media. And I've had so many people like Facebook message me or DM me on Instagram, and they filled in Foreman and then Trump. And that's fine. But I think that just shows like where they are, where they live in their community. They want common sense.